All right, guys, our next guest is widely considered one of the best striking coaches in the world. He's a former K1 and karate competitor, and he has coached such champion kickboxers as Peter Ertz, Romy Bojanski, and Tyrone Spong, and he is currently the head striking coach at the Blackzilians camp, which features such guys as Vitor Belfort, Eddie Alvarez, Anthony Rumble Johnson, and Rashad Evans. He's none other than Henri Hooft. Henri, welcome to Submission Radio. How are you?
Well, yeah, thank you very much. I'm good. I'm fine. Nice you guys have me on the show.
Yeah, it is absolutely our pleasure. We want to talk to you a little bit about, what you do at the Blackzilians and talk about your career. Before we get into it, let's discuss your career. You've had over 89 professional kickboxing fights, which is amazing. What made you want to be a fighter? And tell us about how you first combined Dutch kickboxing and Thai boxing.
I started very young when I was, I played soccer when I was younger, and it was kind of funny. The trainer of my soccer team said when I was 14, 15, he said, yeah, you need to do something to get a little bit stronger. And I told the guy that I already did Kickboxing karate, and he kind of didn't know what it was, but it was already strong enough. So I did a little bit of kickboxing with the karate, and then I did my first fight after 3 months, and I kind of left soccer and went on to be a kickboxer. And I loved it because it's a sport you have to do by yourself, and also just I'm a very technical fighter, so I like the technical aspect of it, the punching, the kicking, the combination they put together. And I never thought I would become like so far as a trainer or as a fighter. I just went in there like a nice hobby. It was nice. I did my school and everything, but along the way I just decided this is my thing. This is my passion, and still is after 30 years now.
Wow.
30 years in doing martial arts.
Now, Henri, obviously you were such a successful fighter in those styles. Just wondering, if MMA was as prominent back in those days when you were fighting, would it be something that you would have considered in fighting in? Would you consider fighting in MMA if it was as big back in the day when you were fighting?
Yeah, well, if you had asked me that question, especially 3.5 years ago before I came to Florida, I would say no. But now I'm 3.5 years around the sport. The UFC, the fighters here, the wrestling and everything, and I think I would have done it. I mean, it's kind of, in the beginning when you see it, you think it's kind of more violent than kickboxing, but at the end of the day, now I'm teaching the guys, I see there's a lot of stuff that's kind of similar. I mean, there are like different styles, of course, but still the same thing. One man trains hard to fight another man. There are some rules. There's a referee. The only thing is different. There's a cage and there's wrestling, but it's still very competitive, and it's one of the most competitive sports there is. So I think if I wouldn't be scared to be taken down, I would do it. I love the small gloves, though. If you hit somebody with small gloves, it's night. So I like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys get excited about that. Henri, as a coach, I'm just wondering, could you explain to us, what are some of the subtle differences between incorporating kickboxing into MMA as opposed to just for, say, a kickboxer?
Yeah. There is some differences. I mean, I'm a very structured guy, so I always lay down first a ground floor on everything I do, and then I start building from there. And first, the stance is different. Of course, you have takedowns that you have to worry about. You cannot just so kick like in kickboxing. Sometimes you can react with a kick. That's different. But most of the things that I do are still punching and kicking and putting pressure on guys without doing really something, when to kick, at the right moments to kick or punch. And now I'm learning it a little bit more with our wrestling coach and our jiu-jitsu coach to put it all a little bit more together. Of course, there's much more transition from stand-up to wrestling, but still we have a style of stand-up fighters and Brazilians. We like to knock people out, so we don't really go for takedowns. I mean, we can do it, but we really prefer to just stand up and bang like what most of the people want to see, and not being taken down, as you see with Anthony Johnson and with all the guys in our gym. So I still think that there's a big difference, but if you do it good, step by step, you can put kickboxing in the same way, but with some small points that you have to change, But the basic stuff is still the same. I punch, I kick, look where the guy's going, at which moment I have to kick or punch, and not just do something without really thinking about what I'm doing, I'm a really structured fighter. In all my fights, I lost 2 times by knockout. And I did like 100 first professional fights. Tyrone, that I trained for the last 4 years, didn't get knocked out when I was training him. Peter got only knocked out by Badahari at the end of his career when I was training with him. So I'm a guy who likes to be defensive and have a structured base, you know?
Absolutely, Henry. You know, people talk about Dutch boxing as being one of the toughest and most intense. Do you bring that same kind of training and intensity when you train guys at the Blackzilians with you?
Yeah, I mean, our sparring sessions are kind of hard. I think if you go to the Netherlands, every sparring session is a fight. I mean, we not try to knock people out when they're already on the floor, when they cannot defend themselves. You have to understand, these are all people, all fighters at the same level, all professional fighters who all signed up for this. So when we go in sparring, people go hard. First of all, you do technical stuff. When the technique is good, it doesn't need to be hard to knock somebody out or to knock somebody down. It needs to be precise. So that's a little bit stuff that you have to think about. But our training sessions are hard. And my mentality, again, I come from kickboxing and kickboxing. My mentality is just to work hard, be disciplined, and do very simple stuff all over again, same stuff all over again. And then it will work in the fight, you know?
Yeah. The way you explain it, Henry, I can safely say if Dennis and myself grew up in Holland, we would probably be accountants or like we don't a fish shop, not kickboxers.
That's nice to hear. Nice to hear.
You know, a lot of people consider the Dutch style kickboxing to be the best style, and those sentiments are always echoed by guys like Bas Rutten and Joe Rogan especially. You know, Alistair Overeem said not too long ago that he respectfully considers the Dutch style of kickboxing to be outdated and not used for MMA. I'm just wondering, what do you think about those statements? Do you think there's any truth to them? You know, and is the Dutch style applicable to today's MMA?
Well, if Alistair says that about Dutch kickboxing, maybe he just had to stay here and train with me and not get knocked out every fight, you know? I mean, he did everything by himself. He tried to change his style. I'm not going to talk too long about Alistair because he don't mean nothing to me, but it's like crazy, you know? He comes here in America and he tries to do another style of fighting where he was very successful at, and he gets knocked out and get booed and everything. And now he blames it on our sport. It's outdated. Well, I can tell you one thing. Look at Tyrone, look at Saki, look at Nicky Holskin, the kickboxers, and look at my fighters. Look at Matt Mitrione, look at Anthony Johnson, look at all the guys that we have. You know, Gilbert Durinho, Ryan LaFleur. So many people are knocking and kicking people out. Like, it's. I don't understand why people say that. You know, I believe I have respect for every kind of aspect in MMA, you know, everything, and Muay Thai, kickboxing, and we can all learn from each other, you know. But I think that kickboxing, Dutch style kickboxing, is very good for MMA because we do everything in combinations. We not just kick or do something without thinking. We do everything in combination. If you set up kicks with your hands, it's very difficult to take somebody down if you get punched in the face first, you know. So it is outdated. I mean, karate is one of the oldest sports in the world, and it works. Jiu-jitsu is a very old sport, and it works. The fighting sports are never outdated. It's the fighter who is outdated or just changes up after a loss. That's the funny thing I like about MMA, though. They lose a fight, and they change the whole camp, trainers. They want to change everything. They never look at themselves or what they're doing wrong, you know? A fight is a fight. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And if you lose to a guy who's better than you, born with more genetic structure and everything, you can do nothing about it. If you lose a fight because you're stupid, then it's your fault. I mean, I'm a trainer. I always say that. I'm a trainer, but I not take all the credit. I'm just an extra pair of eyes. I make sure that you're fit, that you can fight, and that I see stuff that you don't see. But at the end of the day, when the cage is closed or you go in the ring, you're responsible for your own stuff. I'm already done. I trained you for 8 weeks or 12 weeks or 3 years or 10 years. Fighting, you need to do yourself, you know? So, again, I think Alistair left our camp. He never really trained with us, never trained with me. I never wanted to train with him. And that was maybe his biggest mistake. And that he said Dutch kickboxing is outdated. I hope he said the same stuff when he's in Holland and talked to all the kickbox players because they're all going to laugh in his face, you know?
Well, it's just one more question in regards to Alistair. You know, we have Bas Rutten on the show very often, and he's often said to us about how he thinks that Alistair used to have this style. We had one hand up protecting the chin, and then he would have, you know, instead of combinations, he would throw one punch so that he could protect his chin. And he said that when he left Golden Glory, he sort of changed that style. I'm just wondering, you know, from a technical aspect, do you think that would, you know, that would be something that would benefit him, or do you think there's any truth to what Bas said?
Well, I mean, Bas has a lot of experience. He knows what he's talking about. He knows Alistair better than me. But I know one thing. I've seen Alistair fight a couple of times. Also in the beginning, when he was kickboxing, he got knocked out and knocked down by normal people. It's not about... He is big and he's strong. And that's his strongest point, you know. And he has a good stand-up. He was a K1 champion. Okay, he was a K1 champion when all the guys that were very good were or not down, were older. But he won that championship. And if you have that stuff, you have good punches and good kicks, and you're not going to use it, you're going to walk around, you get knocked out by Ben Rothwell, or you get knocked out by Travis Brown. And I have a lot of respect for all these fighters because it's MMA. But as a stand-up guy, you make a fool out of yourself, you know. And again, personally, I have nothing against him because I have nothing with him. But as a fighter, what he shows now, especially in stand-up, and that says that it's outdated, he just makes a fool out of himself, you know. I think when a guy like him is so strong, if he gives Ben Rodlow 2 hard low kicks, and he can do that because he did it, if he gives him 2 low kicks, then the guy cannot walk anymore. But what he did, no, I cannot throw low kicks because maybe he's going to take you down. That means, guys, if you have the best weapons in the world, you're not going to use it because the other guys has weapons like that. I'm not a trainer like that. I'm like this. I have my skills, and they're so good that I don't care what you bring to the table. My skills will be better because I believe in my stuff. But he's changing every fight. He's changing something. And not only him, a lot of fighters. They lose and they change everything. It's not about that. So, for me, you know, it's all the same anyway. You know, and it's Alistair. I mean, we're talking about. He's number 12 or what? He's number 10 at the heavyweight. He's supposed to be champion 2 years ago already if he just did what he was good at, you know?
Now, Henri, striking purists are often critical of MMA fighters and their striking when it's compared to kickboxing, Muay Thai, and boxing. Just wanted to get your thoughts. What do you think the striking level is in MMA like? And do you think that any MMA fighters will be able to compete against, you know, the seasoned kickboxers out there?
Well, of course it's different because the gloves are different. They have very small gloves, you know. But I mean, of course, MMA they have smaller gloves, you know. So when they hit you, then you need to hit you hard on a weird angle, and you're going to get knocked out, you know. That's the thing. And so you don't even need to be a good boxer or a perfect puncher. When you hit somebody, they're going to go out anyway, you know. But in my camp, Anthony Johnson, we train with Anthony, we train with Tyrone, we train here with boxing trainers like Pedro Diaz. Our guys can all box. Our guys can all fight, you know. So I don't think there's a very, very big difference. Only kickboxers can stand more in the pocket, have cleaner shots, and also remember the 10-ounce gloves. They look big, but they're not big. If you put them on, the patch in the front of the UFC glove and the patch of the 10 ounces or 8 ounces in kickboxing are nearly similar. Only they have more cleaner shots and they throw more punches. With MMA, you have wrestling, jiu-jitsu. So a lot of guys have all disciplines. And these guys are just only work with their hands and their legs. So, of course, there's a difference. But I'll put Anthony Johnson in a fight. I'll put some of our guys in a fight, for sure.
Like in a kickboxing fight?
Sorry?
You mean like you'd put those guys in a kickboxing fight?
Yeah, I will put them in a kickboxing fight, for sure. And you saw before when Dynamite was there and Pride and everything, you had these cross matches. Gekka Musashi knocked out Musashi in Japan. You had some of these matches that worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. That'd be super exciting. You know, I want to also ask you, with all the spinning attacks we're seeing, you know, what do you think about the evolution of MMA striking and the direction it's heading in?
Yeah, that's crazy. It's beautiful. It's so nice to see that change. And everybody, you see, and it's, again, old stuff, old techniques and everything, and that works, you know. Nice spinning kicks. Vitor's making spinning kicks while he's known for his hands. That's Dos Santos even. I mean, it's nice to see. It brings a lot of spectacular action, you know, that everybody wants to see. So I like the move that it goes now. It's a lot of striking, a lot of stand up. It's a lot of my work. Good for my work, you know. So I like it. And then people like to see stand-up wars. I mean, the groundwork is nice when stuff is happening, but most of the time people just want to see knockouts. That's why we're all in love with Mark Hunt. You know, you're a crazy guy. Everybody loves him, you know. Yeah,
that's right. Australia's own. We've claimed him, Henri. Now, let's move on to your coaching career. You mentioned that a few years ago you were more of a striking guy, and you know now you're the head coach at Blackzilians. What made you want to go over to the Blackzilians, and how did you first get involved with the camp?
Oh, I got asked by Tyrone Spong. He was here training Rashad, and I have a gym in Holland with my brothers. So we have a lot of students, and I've had two big fights going on. Obviously, you need to come here because we need a trainer to help out. I'm a fighter. I can help Rashad out, but I want some structured plan. I want you to do it and come over to help Rashad fight. It was Tito Ortiz, I think. So I came over for 3 weeks to work with Rashad. I met the team. It was very small at that time. I mean, we had like 2 people in the UFC. And then the guy did me an offer, and I think, you know what, I'm going to try it in America a year. Look how it is. Still work with my fighters back home. And then I liked it so much and get a lot of talented people here, work with a lot of talented people, see the team growing. We have a great manager, Graham Robertson, who does a lot for our team. We have good facility. We have the best training partners, good trainers here. So, I mean, who doesn't want to work here, you know, doesn't want to work with these guys? And it's just, it's still nice. For me, it's a new sport, so I can put my passion in there. Kickboxing I do so long already, I still love it, but MMA now is my new passion. I want to be just one of the best trainers, you know.
Absolutely. Speaking of being one of the best trainers, one of your star pupils recently, Anthony Johnson, he came out and had a spectacular performance against Alexander Gustafsson. Did you think that that's the way the fight was going to go? Did you think he was going to beat Gustafsson that quickly?
No, I have a lot of respect for Gustafsson. He's one of my favorite fighters in the weight class. Movement is good, stand-up is good. But I always know that when Anthony will fight him or Jon Jones, he's going to connect one time. And he's going to knock people out. He's so crazy, amazing, strong, and explosive that you see that nowhere. You see that nowhere, you know. So I said it before on television. I really think that AJ is going to knock him out because to stay 5 rounds away from that power is going to be difficult. So I think AJ is going to beat everybody on his path. I really believe that. He's going to beat Jon Jones, who's the best fighter in the world, but he's going to beat him. I feel that. I just know that. So.
We've seen Rumble put a tremendous amount of pressure on his opponents recently. That's something that sort of seems like a new wrinkle. How big of a factor do you think this will be in the Jon Jones fight? And do you think Jones will be able to handle Anthony Rumble Johnson's pressure?
Well, of course, Jon Jones is the favorite. Jon Jones is the best fighter. But again, the pressure that Anthony Johnson put on you, and then the knockout power, the sheer knockout power that he has, is dangerous for everybody. That's why he has a good chance of winning and beating him and knocking him out. Because of that power and because of that rough, raw power, I think nobody else brought that. I mean, and he's so explosive. It's not like, the Brazilian guy who fought Jon Jones the last time. What's his name? I forgot his name. The Brazilian guy, the strong guy too. I cannot.
Glover Teixeira.
Yeah, Glover Teixeira. He has good hands, but he's very slow compared to Anthony, and not explosive. And Anthony has kicks, has punches. He's very explosive. So everything comes from weird angles, and it's so hard. It's unbelievable, It's so hard.
Yeah, Henry, with Anthony Johnson, he's been in the spotlight for a really long time. He's been someone that's always been looked at as a guy that's an up-and-comer, and everybody's always spoken to him about as a future champion. He's had a few setbacks, but he's finally showing all of his potential. He looks amazing in the octagon as of late. What would you attribute that to? What was the final thing that pushed him, into his potential? And do you think partially, him cutting the weight down to welterweight was possibly that huge mistake that kept him back all those years?
Well, I think I have a great part to do with that. I mean, AJ does everything himself, but I think I have a great part to do with it. Also, Glenn Robinson, his manager, who always pushed him, and our sparring partners, and Rashad, we all pushed him to the next level. But I was along with AJ when he didn't make the weight against Vitor Belfort. We were in the plane. It's a funny story. He never drinks wine, and me too. And we started drinking wine. We were so drunk, and he made me a promise to speak. I love you, stick by me, you always train me, we're going to make it. I said, let's go. We go to the small shows. I don't care, Titan, where we go, but we're going to come back to the top, and then we're going to knock people out. And we stick to it. We were 9-0 after that and knocking people out, So he made me a promise, and he never lets me down. That's it.
Well, the rest is history. To see Anthony Rumble Johnson, what he's doing now, it's crazy. I want to talk about another one of the guys that you train. He is none other than Vitor Belfort. He's going to be fighting for the title against Chris Weidman, hopefully soon. Obviously they were going to fight at UFC 184. How has Vitor been looking in training so far?
Yeah, he was good. He was ready already 2 times for the fight. Getting ready. He looks very good. He trains hard. Everything is professionally very good. Body-wise, after that TNT stuff that happened with him, he just works so hard, and he's so dedicated, so talented that training with him is easy. He's like training, start training Shaquille O'Neal or start training Kobe Bryant. He's so talented, like Tyrone. You learn him something, he picks it up. It's unbelievable. And the guy is 37 years old, and he's still as hungry as every young guy in the gym here. He's the first year in, very professional, takes his ice bath, takes care of it after training. Very professional guy, And again, he's another one. We have 2 title fights in one night, and they both have a chance to win the fights, So Vitor's amazing.
Yeah, and Vitor gets a lot of criticism because obviously after he got off TRT, his body looked a little bit different. I'm just wondering, as a coach, are there any concerns for you? Obviously, there's a lot of fighters out there, and they're always talking trash about Vitor, always saying things like he won't be the same now that he's off TRT. Just to all those people with criticisms, what does Vitor Belfort look like compared to back in the day when he was on TRT? And, obviously, will there be any issues coming off TRT for him when we see him in the octagon next?
Well, of course, I'm not a doctor. I don't know about what his physique in the fight will be, but he looks great. I mean, maybe he looked a little bit stronger when he used the TRT or whatever they used. He looked a little bit stronger, but looking stronger and being stronger is a difference, It is not about looking bigger and stronger, He is just he is just amazingly physique strong. He was already when he was younger, He was already strong. So he's going to be okay. He's going to be fine. He's technically so good and he has so much experience that, again, compared to Chris Weidman, Vitor Belfort is never going to be small. He fought at heavyweight, so he's never going to be small. 37, your body's changing a little bit, but again, technically and powerful, he's one of the best, So he's maybe the best. And in his weight class, he has a very good chance of beating him, Chris Weidman.
Now, Henri, I want to ask you just more specifically in regards to Vitor, what are some of the main things that you've been working on? What do you think are the keys to victory for Vitor Belfort to beat Chris Weidman?
Well, since Vitor came to us, I really worked a lot on his punching and kicking. As you can see in all the fights, he won every fight by a high kick knockout. But what's set up with some punches. So I worked on the punching and kicking, also a little bit more on the mental side of the things. Vitor's a guy who fights for a long time already, and I make him aware that he's a very talented guy, but also a very experienced guy. I put it in his head every fight that he goes in the fight, and I really have a good click with him. He trusts me. I run his training camp from start to the end, together with Jake Bonacci and Jon Jones, the wrestle coach. We do a lot of stuff. From the beginning to the end, I run it, and he trusts me with that, and the results are good. So you know how it is when you win fights, your stuff works. You keep doing the same stuff all over again, and we're going to do the same. We were doing the same stuff for Chris Weidman. Of course, he's the champ, undefeated guy, strong wrestler. So we had some wrestle guys coming in to specifically help Vitor, strong guys, to work on the wrestling a little bit more than we normally do. But still, we do the same stuff. Still, we're training the stuff that we want to do. So nothing really changed. What I told you in the beginning, my coaching style is very simple. I start training you not for one specific opponent. I'm not really a game planning guy. I just want to make your style so good that you can beat everybody with it, And whatever the other guy brings to the table, that's up to the other guy, because you never know what happened. You can train for Weidman, you see, you got the fight got canceled, and you cannot take another fight because you're specifically training for some kind of guy. I don't believe in that, especially not with younger fighters. I mean, Vitor's a little bit experienced, so different a little bit, but younger fighters too, they need to just train all styles and fight everybody,
For sure, Henri, and that's a great mindset going into it. Just wondering, recently, obviously, Chris got injured. How close were you and Vitor to picking another opponent at fighting at UFC 184? Did you guys get close to possibly taking another fight at UFC 184, or was it just a group decision?
I was in Sweden for that time. I was in Sweden for that time for a week, and I had to go to the Netherlands for a week to do my visa stuff. So he was already feeling bad that I was leaving 2 weeks. And then all that stuff happened. He Skyped me, and I said, just wait. I mean, Vitor's not a young guy anymore. He doesn't get so many chances to fight for the title anymore. Now he finally deserves it. Just wait for the guy. You're supposed to fight for the title, not the interim title, because that's not the real title. Not that he's scared or he doesn't want to fight other people. Don't take that risk. You're 37 years old. You have a chance to become legendary, being champion again after so many years. Why throw it away? Just wait for the guy who you're supposed to fight, who has the title, and then fight the guy. That's it,
Just one more thing, in regards to Chris versus Vitor, we already know Vitor's a great striker. We've seen it his whole career. A lot of times great strikers can get frozen by a good wrestler in fights. Do you think this is a danger at all that Vitor could face? And is it a concern of yours at all, being a coach?
Yeah, of course. You always worry about the fighters getting taken down. But that's what I mean. If you set it up good and you strike at the right moment, Dan Hansen was trying to shoot on Vitor and got caught by an uppercut and then got knocked out. I mean, if you're fast in your feet, we have a great wrestle coach now who's doing a lot of stuff together with me, so he kind of has the feeling when people punch and when people have to stuff takedowns, how to do it. And again, Vitor is so quick, so fast with his hands, and then with his kicks that I think we have a good game plan. I mean, we have a good style to beat Chris Weidman. But again, Chris Weidman is a champion. Shows up in every fight. His stuff is durable. It's going to be a very hard fight, but I still think Vitor can do the job.
Absolutely, Henri. Now, Rashad Evans, it's really sad because he just can't catch a break recently with injuries. There's a lot of people who are saying we might not see him have another title run in the UFC. Just wondering, do you see Rashad coming back for another title campaign after he heals up? And also, what weight class would he be coming back to? Obviously, Anthony, is dominating the light heavyweight division. Would we see Rashad possibly attempt making middleweight?
Well, first he needs to get healthy. He has a lot of bad luck. It's kind of too bad. I leave it into Brazil in a couple of hours together for Michael Johnson and Cesar Mutanchi that fight. So I'm going to the airport in a couple of hours together with him. He's invited by the UFC for a Q&A. And we trained this morning, or we talked this morning, and he did some rehab. So he's doing his rehab. I think Rashad still has it to do what he has to do. He just needs to be focused, and hopefully he gets out of this injury. If he gets out of this injury now, it still can be good. And whatever weight class he's going to fight, we're going to see when he's ready to fight. I mean, if Anthony is in his way, then he has to go to 185, and he wants to do that, he goes to 185,
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Henri, before we jump to the submission rated tap-out round and have a bit of fun, we also have been wondering, some of the fans also wondering, with Tyrone Spong, when do you think we might see him in the UFC? And do you think that Tyrone, might be a force to reckon with? And, do you think the UFC might force him to jump to the company in 2015?
Tyrone has so much qualities. At this moment, he's boxing a lot. And training boxing. He's going to do his first fight in the beginning of March. He's going to be in Germany for a month, and he has like 4 professional fights there. He's building up his record. He trains with Pedro Diaz. Tyrone can do everything. I mean, he's 28 years old, 9-time world champion kickboxing. He can do everything. He's really, really good. And I also believe that he can make a good case in the UFC. He's naturally very strong. He has good hands. He's just good. His wrestling is good. He's learning. I mean, now with his leg injury, he couldn't train, but while he was kickboxing with Nathan Corbett and all the other guys, in the meantime, he was wrestling and doing jiu-jitsu. So he's learning, and I really think a guy with his standards, with his athletes, how he is, how strong he is, how fast he is, and hungry, he can be a force for everybody in the UFC. I mean, standard-wise, he has not a problem with nobody, of course, but he just needs to work on his grappling and his wrestling. And he was doing that until he got hurt. So, yeah, I would see him one day if the boxing doesn't. He already told me if boxing goes too slow and I not get to a point where I feel that I'm going to make some real money and going to be a champion, I'm going to make that step to the UFC. He asked Dana White, specifically a couple of times, put me in the UFC. So he wants it.
Awesome.
Now, Henri, before we jump to the tap-out round, UFC, they released some news. Basically, they're going to be introducing harsher sanctions for fighters who test positive for steroids and other performance-enhancing drugs. As a coach, are you happy to see that the company may be giving guys suspensions up to 4 years for the first offense, starting soon, if they test positive for any of the performance-enhancing drugs? And is it something that you worry about with so many fighters, obviously, of yours fighting in MMA?
Of course. I mean, I never took anything, in my career as a fighter. I mean, I saw stuff happening around me when I was getting really tired in fights. Other people were still going, getting bigger. I mean, I never thought it was good for the sport. I mean, but the other thing is people want to see freak athletes. People want to see stuff happening. People want to see people going on bicycles 3 weeks on the highest mountains without stopping. People want to see everything, and then stuff like this is just going to happen. That's just the thing that's going to be for always going to be there. I mean, they're going to be sanctioning people. They're going to punish people. But it's not the problem of the fighters who are doing that stuff alone. It's also the people who are demanding stuff from them, from athletes, and want to see magic. And that's not going to happen without any help with doctors or with something. So it's not. They're not have to just do only something against the fighters. They're also the people who are demanding stuff and bigger, better, stronger, faster. That's not going to come from just brown bread and cheese or something, So, I mean, I'm against all this stuff, and I'm never involved in anything. If people ask me about Vitor or people they're on the wrong address. I'm just a kickboxing trainer, stand-up trainer, and I try to stay with my profession. I'm not going to mix up in other stuff, but I think it's a good thing to punish people who are doing the wrong thing, but also they have to look to the people who are demanding such big things from athletes, not only in our sport, in every sport, you know?
A lot of the guests on our show say the same thing. Now, Henry, to finish up the interview, we're going to do something quick with you called the submission rated tap out round. We ask you a bunch of fun questions and you answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, if you could coach anyone in MMA from past and present, who would it be and why?
Anthony Pettis. Because I think stand-up-wise, he has the best style. He's stand-up-wise the coolest fighter to see, to watch at this moment, and I'm a big fan of him. So, and he's a very good trainer. I like him.
Now, Henry, we know you're an amazing striker, but what are your skills like on the ground? Do you do much grappling?
Nope. I'm very bad. I don't want to be on my back. I have legs for nothing. I don't have my legs for nothing. I want to stand on them.
Yeah. Now, Henry, finish the sentence. People don't know that I'm
not good at grappling.
now they know, Henry. The truth's coming out. Now, the hardest puncher ever that you've dealt with in a gym, who was it? Who was the hardest puncher that threw a punch at you when you were doing mitts?
Tyrone Spong.
Wow. Now, Henry, do you spar with your guys in the gym, and how competitive is it?
Yes, I spar with my fighters until 6 months ago. I sparred every Friday, and I did like 10 rounds without any problem. And I went hard. I always hit a couple of my own fighters. I just try to put some people down on the floor, liver shots and everything. Everybody knows I am. And nowadays, I just jump in there when I see that the tempo is too slow and they go too soft. I put on my shin guards and gloves and just try to hit people, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, business is coming when Henry jumps in the ring. Now, Mayweather and Pacquiao, looks like they're going to be fighting soon. You know, as a striking coach and a guy that knows it so well, who's going to win it and how?
I'm a fan of Pacquiao, but I think Mayweather is going to win it because he's so smart.
Wow. Now, your favorite fight as a fighter that we need to find on YouTube right now?
Let me see. Favorite fights? Yeah, the Ramon Dekkers fights. If you look at all Ramon Dekkers fights, they're like crazy fights. And again, Tyrone Spong Nathan for bet was a crazy-ass fight. I mean, it was beautiful from our side of the fight, you know. But Ramon Dekkers fights against the sanction or like the real good Thai fighters, go watch every fight of Ramon Dekkers. You're going to get excited, you know.
Henry, tell us, what's the best fight? What's your favorite fight that you fought in? Obviously, you fought over 100 fights, so it might be tough for you to look through all of them. But what's your favorite one that stands out to you?
My favorite fight that I fought myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a kickboxing match in the Netherlands. I was supposed to fight somebody who was like very, really talented and never lost a fight. His name was Samir Ben-Azouz. At that time, he was a very up-and-coming fighter. I was already European champion. And I beat him on low kicks in the second round. The first round, he got me rocked a little bit. And then I hit him with low kicks, and he gave up in the middle of the round. And at that time, Peter Aerts and everybody was in the guy's corner. And a couple of years later, I ended up training with Peter.
Wow.
It was one of my favorite fights.
That's got to be a good feeling. Now, you spent time in Thailand training when you were younger. Any crazy stories from your Thailand experience?
Well, the crazy story is that I got married with a Thai wife sitting next to me now. I'm already married for 25 years, and I have a daughter. I speak Thai like everybody in Thailand. I already come there for a long time. We have a house there. So, no, not really crazy stories. Only me. I was fighting for the first time in Thailand. I was in a bar, just in a bar like everybody knows. In Pattaya, they have these bars. I fought a guy, and he was kind of fat Thai guy, and I was kind of tall and lean. And the first kick he gave me, I was like, oh, shit, what is this? I mean, he looked fat out of shape. So I had to get him out of there quickly, so I knocked him out at the end of the round. But with 16-ounce gloves, that was crazy stuff. You know? Wow.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy over there. Now, you spoke about the intensity in the gym, but who's the biggest practical joker of the Blackzilians? Who likes to joke around the most?
There's Rashad Evans.
Oh, really? What kind of jokes does he do? Give us an example.
Yeah, he's just the funniest guy. He changed up the music. He started dancing, funny stuff on the telephones, in training. He's just a very funny guy, very good guy to have around. He's an actor, man. He's a good fighter and he's an actor. They have to hire him in Hollywood. He's good.
You need someone.
And Matt Mitrione too. No, Matt Mitrione too. Together with Matt. Matt also. Matt Mitrione's crazy too.
Yeah, he was down in Melbourne a few years ago, and he was really cool. Finally, to wrap things up, Henry, out of all the amazing things you've accomplished, what stands out to you thus far as a highlight? What's the biggest thing in your career?
As a fighter myself, I think you come from a very small gym in the Netherlands, and become world champion and European champion, of course. And as a trainer now, just having people from Australia calling me for an interview, people from New York coming to flying to train with me, have basketball players, NFL guys who training with me. It's kind of awesome, to see that stuff now. Really, people really start noticing me a little bit more than before. I'm not a guy. If you look at the UFC fights, I'm never the guy who stands on top of the cage, or I always stay in the background and everything. And it's happy. It's nice to see that I get some compliments, that people really see my work. So that's my biggest accomplishment.
Well, we usually see your work, especially when we watch the UFC fights. And, coming from a couple of guys in Australia, we can say it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Guys, make sure you follow Henri at Henri Hooft on Twitter, HenriHooft, or go to henrihooft.com to see all of his latest updates. Once again, Henri, thank you so much for doing the interview and coming on the show with us.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much. And hopefully once soon I'll come over to your side of the ocean and then do some stuff over there and show you my skills and spread the Blackzilian virus all over,
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely love that. Again, thanks so much for doing the interview, Henri. Have a great flight and good luck in Brazil this weekend.
See you, man. Take care, yeah?
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.